We went through a thorough process to identify all of my work-related emails and deliver them to the State Department. At the end, I chose not to keep my private, personal emails. Emails about planning Chelsea's wedding or my mother's funeral arrangements, condolence notes to friends, as well as yoga routines, family vacations, the other things you typically find in inboxes. Looking back, it would have been better for me to use 2 separate phones and 2 email accounts. I thought using one device would be simpler, and obviously it hasn't worked out that way. Now I'm happy to take a few questions. As I said, I saw it as a matter of convenience, and it was allowed. Others had done it.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Can you explain how you decided which of the personal emails to get rid of, how you got rid of them and when, and how you'll respond to questions about you being the arbiter of what you release?
And I'll give you some of the background. In going through the emails, there were over 60,000 in total sent and received. About half were work-related and went to the State Department, and about half were personal. For any government employee, it is that government employee's responsibility to determine what's personal and what's work-related. Hi, right here.
Secretary Clinton.
She's sort of squashed, so we gotta.
Hi, Secretary. Hi. I was wondering if you think that you made a mistake in either in exclusively using your private email or in the response to the controversy around it, and if so, what have you learned from that?
Well, I have to tell you that, as I said in my remarks, looking back, it would have been probably smarter to have used 2 devices. And I have to add, even if I'd had 2 devices, which is obviously permitted, many people do that, you would still have to put the responsibility where it belongs, which is on the official. So I did it for convenience, and I now, looking back, think that it might have been smarter to have those 2 devices from the very beginning.
Did you or any of your aides delete any government-related emails from your personal account? And what lengths are you willing to go to prove that you didn't? Some people, including supporters of yours, have suggested having an independent arbiter look at your server, for instance.
We did not. In fact, my direction to conduct the thorough investigation was to err on the side of providing anything that could be possibly viewed as work-related. That is the responsibility of the individual, and I have fulfilled that responsibility. And I have no doubt that we've done exactly what we should have done.
Right here.
Madam Secretary, 2 quick follow-ups. You mentioned the server. That's one of the distinctions here. This wasn't Gmail or Yahoo or something. This was a server that you owned. Is that appropriate? Was there any precedent for it? Did you clear it with any State Department security officials? And did they have full access to it when you were Secretary?
It had numerous safeguards. It was on property guarded by the Secret Service, and there were no security breaches.
Madam Secretary,
hi.
How can the public be assured that when you deleted emails that were personal in nature, that you didn't also delete emails that were professional but possibly unflattering? And what do you think about this Republican idea of having an independent third party come in and examine your emails?
Well, first of all, you would have to ask that question to every single federal employee, because the way the system works, the federal employee, the individual, whether they have 1 device, 2 devices, 3 devices, how many addresses, they make the decision. So even if you have a work-related device with a work-related .gov account, you choose what goes on that. That is the way our system works. And so we trust and count on the judgment of thousands, maybe millions of people to make those decisions. And I feel that I did that and even more, that I went above and beyond.
Madam Secretary, State Department rules at the time you were Secretary were perfectly clear that if a State Department employee was going to be using private email, that employee needed to turn those emails over to the State Department to be preserved on government computers. Why did you not do that? Why did you not go along with State Department rules until nearly 2 years after you left office? Why did you not do that? Why have you apparently caught the White House by surprise? And then just one last political question, if I...
The laws and regulations in effect when I was Secretary of State allowed me to use my email for work. That is undisputed. What I did was to direct, my counsel to conduct a thorough investigation and to err on the side of providing anything that could be connected to work. They did that, and that was my obligation. I fully fulfilled it, and then I took the unprecedented step of saying, go ahead and release them and let people see them.
Why did you wait 2 months to turn those emails over? I mean, the rules say you have to turn them over.
Secretary Clinton, delete the personal emails.
Why did you wait 2 months?
I don't
Secretary
think,
Clinton.
I'd be happy to have somebody talk to you about the rules. I fully complied with every rule that I was governed by.
Were you ever specifically briefed on the security implications of using your own email server and using your personal address to email with the president?
I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. There is no classified material. So I'm certainly well aware of the classification requirements and did not send classified material. Because they were personal and private about matters that I believed were within the scope of my personal privacy, and that particularly of other people. They had nothing to do with work, but I didn't see any reason to keep them. At the end of the process.
What about Scott Gratian, who was forced to resign 2 years ago because of his personal use of emails? By the way, David Schuster from Al Jazeera America.
Right.
What about Ambassador Scott Gratian being forced to resign?
David, I think you should go online and read the entire IG report. That is not an accurate representation of what happened. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Secretary Clinton wrapping up that press conference at the UN, addressing for the first time those questions about her personal email account, the one she had set up on a personal server while she was Secretary of State. She says, looking back, it was probably a mistake.